All diets die. There's an all or nothing mentality that just frankly doesn't work. Developing long-term results boils down to consistency over perfection. Have you started and failed? Well, join the crowd. Today's guest is going to give us some critical tips on how to develop a long-term relationship with yourself, with your body, and with your health.
Welcome to the Evolve Podcast, a podcast about disrupting your life to spark new evolution. Evolve your body, evolve your mind, evolve your soul, and evolve your tribe. And now it's time to disrupt.
And with that, folks, we want to welcome you to another episode of the Evolve Podcast. My co-host, we're calling him Captain COVID because he is out today with COVID. So we wish W. Miles Riley well. And somewhere in the mountains of Utah, I am Steve Cutler. And guys, I am excited today to introduce you to a new guest to the podcast. Michelle Branderstein is a certified master personal trainer with a National Academy of Sports Medicine. She has a BS in exercise science and is a master level nutrition coach with Precision Nutrition, which is a phenomenal certification. Michelle is the owner of MB Elite Fitness and Nutrition. And she has also worked with a wide range of clients, from professional athletes to stay-at-home moms looking to get into better shape. She's a big believer in behavior change, balance, and making fitness and nutrition a part of one's life and not merely a temporary destination. Michelle, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks for having me on.
So exciting to have you. You know, I started a habit a while back that as I'm looking for guests, I used to spend hours where I would go to social media and I would say, who's posting cool things? Mm-hmm. And then I would, if I found a page or somebody was promoting their page and it popped up, and then I would dig deep into their page. And that took a long time for a lot of really bad content. And so I finally just decided a few months ago that if somebody popped up onto my, I don't know what you call it, but a page where, you know, I see some interesting content, or I see people tagged in other people's posts, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go follow that person. And then I follow for a while to see if they're putting interesting content out there. If a few weeks down the road they're not, then I just don't follow them anymore. If they are, then I typically reach out and say, hey, you got some great stuff here. Let's talk about a podcast. And you were one where I started following you because you are good friends with, and you go hiking with some of our friends that have been on the podcast a couple of times, Melissa and Lindsay, the hiker babes, right? Yep. So you're out there hiking with them.
Yeah, I'm now a hiker babe too.
Nice. And that's HKR. We joked with them that it sounded like hooker babes if you just look at it, but they are definitely hiker babes. So for those of our listeners who have not listened to the episodes with Melissa and Lindsay, the last one that we did is still in our top 10, and it talks about how to stay healthy and fit over 40. They're inspirational. And we have Michelle here, who is another inspirational person that has really developed an amazing career out of this whole health and fitness thing. And like me, you love to get outside and go hiking too, right?
Yep.
This weekend, I saw some pictures on the social media. You were out snowboarding. Where did you go?
Oh, I went to Brighton, and I went to Solitude this weekend. And actually,
you did both. Wow.
Yeah. Snowboarding is actually a new sport for me. And I don't know, last year I did my first lesson actually at Nordic Valley. And it was a very interesting lesson because I was just basically falling down the entire time. But it was funny because the instructor, who was amazing, he was a great instructor. He just really believed in me so much. Like, he thought my balance was awesome, that like right at the get-go, he was like, okay, we're doing a green run. So he took me
awesome.
up to the green run, but I ended up turning off and getting onto a blue run. And so like the whole lesson was him
there you go,
trying to get me onto a blue run. And so I was basically just falling down the hill. And then by the end of the lesson, I was able to balance on my board. So after that, I was like, you know what, I'm going to learn how to snowboard. So yeah, I got an Icon pass. And yeah, that's been like my goal for the end of this season, is to be able to do the blues with good form and not
What a
fall.
great goal.
Yep.
It's awesome to pick up new habits throughout life. You know,
Yeah.
I started snowboarding probably in my mid 30s. I'm in my late 40s now. And man, I'll tell you what, if I hadn't just jumped in and gone all in one season, I wouldn't be enjoying it as much as I do right now. And I think
Yes.
to myself,
Yes.
what would I have missed out on if I believed all the lies that I was telling myself that I'm too old to try something? Right? It's
Hmm.
crazy to think about in my early to
Right.
mid 30s that I'm too old to do that. And now it's one of my favorite things to do.
Yep. Yep. And I mean, that's how I
Well,
feel.
that's great.
Yeah. I mean, I'm in
It,
my mid 30s as well. And yeah, I feel the same, but it's just, you just got to stick with something. And that's something that I've learned too, is with motivation, mastering something, like trying to master something, it gives you motivation, and achieving that flow. So
yeah.
snowboarding is my new flow, I guess you can say.
There's something to be said for skill development. You know, if we're going to go through the pain of developing a skill because we want to get really good at it and get into that flow state,
Hmm.
it's worth it, right?
Right.
I'm not a big fan of pain for no reason, but if we're going through the pain to get to a result of an improved skill like snowboarding, where you can go out and have a great time, what a great way to get in shape. I want to go back though, Michelle, to something that you said earlier when your instructor said that you had good balance, you had some good
Hmm.
strength with that. It's amazing what the crossover of just a baseline health and fitness does
Oh
when you're
yeah.
working on development of new skill set.
Oh
So
yeah,
I want to ask
definitely.
you, walk us through, how did you evolve into the current person that you are right now? What was your own personal fitness journey?
Um, so my fitness journey actually started with my second daughter. Um, I mean, before then, like I was active, like um, I was into nutrition, but not like, like I am now. But I think after the birth of my second daughter, I suffered from debilitating postpartum depression and postpartum
Mm,
OCD. It got to the point where like I couldn't even like get out of bed and like even take care of my daughter. Like she would be in her crib just crying, and I was just like, I can't, like it was just so, it just got to that point like where I couldn't function. My husband was concerned, so he had me go to, a counselor to kind of talk about it and talk it through. And I was also nursing at the time, so antidepressants were kind of off the table for me. Um,
mhm.
so we were trying to find solutions to help me feel better. And one of the things the counselor said was, have you tried exercising, at least 60 minutes a day? And I was like, and I wasn't in that habit yet. I would just do it sporadically. Um, but I was like, you know what, I'll try and I'll give it a shot. So that kind of got me into the gym, and I just started, just doing cardio and exercising. Um, and I did feel better. But then like one of my friends, and this was, I think like, so about like, 9 years ago, 8 years ago, she competed in like a bodybuilding competition. And it was kind of intriguing. It was like bikini. It was like when it was new. And like I thought it
Mhm.
was like very
Yep.
intriguing. And I was like, oh wow, she looks amazing. Oh, she lifted weights. Like, wow, she looks like that. And so that was very intriguing for me. And so I wanted, that ended up becoming a goal of mine at the time. So, not only was I doing the cardio and the exercising at the gym to feel better mentally and emotionally, that got me really into weightlifting. So I started kind of Googling, and I found like a program on bodybuilding.com. They had like a, preset program. I think it
Yeah.
was Jamie Eason. I think I did her program, and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is so cool. And that just kind of got me into weightlifting and wanting to learn more. Um, so, so I did that, and eventually, like I made some friends at the gym, and they're like, "Oh, can we work out with you? We see you here," because I was going to the gym like pretty frequently for like 3 months, and so these girls that I made friends with, they started working out with me. And then I was kind of giving them tips and pointers. And I was like, you know what, like, I kind of enjoy this. Like, I kind of enjoy this, helping people, and kind of being an inspiration. Like it was kind of cool. And, not only did I lose the body, the baby weight, it just really helped me, emotionally and mentally, but also it was kind of like something that I wanted to make something more of. So I kind of looked into making it a career. I went to the National Personal Training Institute. And so this was in Virginia, in Northern Virginia. And it was a pretty big school there for personal training. So it was like a year-long program, very hands-on. I mean, we were working in the gym, training each other, because we obviously didn't have our certification yet. So we were training each other. So it was very hands-on. And it was just very in-depth in like anatomy, kinesiology, like all of that stuff. So that when you graduated, you would be, set to train. And then also they offered the National Academy of Sports Medicine certification, which is a big certification, NASM. So that kind of got me started on that path with fitness. And then from there, I was just addicted. Like I wanted to learn everything I could about fitness and about nutrition. So I got my bachelor's of science in exercise science. And I have, oh gosh, I have like so many, I'm a certified corrective exercise specialist, performance enhancement specialist, weight loss specialist. I got my level 1 and level 2 in precision nutrition. Yeah, I mean, there's like a number of certification. Like I just really was just addicted to learning and education and just bettering myself in that aspect. So, but yeah, that was
what a cool story.
Thank you.
What a cool story that it all started from a point of pain. It's interesting that you talk about this because I've interviewed so many people over the years, and I've talked to so many people, whether they're leaders in business or leaders in any other field, right? I was talking to a leader recently at a lecture that I was giving to a group of business leaders, and this one guy, he was telling me his story, and it's the same story essentially. There's a point of pain where we feel this point where we say, okay, I've got to do something different. I can't continue to do what I'm doing.
Right.
And it starts small, and then over time it builds, and then you figure out that, hey, I've got a passion for this. And now look at you. I mean, all of the education later, all of the time, all of the experience. I want to go back, Michelle, and talk about in those early stages. You talked about the postpartum depression and the OCD, that you started to notice a difference as you were exercising.
Yeah.
What were some of the changes that you were noticing as you began to exercise on a regular basis?
I mean, definitely the OCD and the postpartum depression was starting to cease. Like it was letting go of its hold on me. Because like I said, before it was debilitating. Like I couldn't even like function in life. And it helped me to be closer to my daughter. Because it was very hard for me to bond with my daughter because I was in bed, like just suffering from those two mental illnesses. But yeah, just it really, honestly, I have to say it saved my life. You know what I mean? Fitness. Yeah.
I love how you talk about it. We need to talk more often in a very matter-of-fact way about mental illness as we do physical illness.
Yes.
There's been a stigma to mental illness over the years that doesn't need to be there. You would never feel bad about getting a cold. You would never feel bad about cancer as if you did something wrong. And yet I found that there's an inherent feeling with a lot of people when it comes to mental illness that, well, maybe I did something wrong, or maybe this isn't something I should talk about. And that's just not the case because there are so many factors that play into it. And diet and exercise has been proven over the years to be one of the most powerful tools to help people get out of depressive states, and can sometimes even get people completely out of depression without any medication. I'm not saying that people shouldn't use medication, but it is so powerful what that does. You started to get into a little bit better shape.
Mhm.
and you found this friend, and that friend was doing something, and you said, wow, she looks that way and she lifts. It's a
Mhm.
really common reaction when people see other women who lift. You
Mhm.
think that they're either genetically built like that
Mhm.
or that they're just doing cardio all the time.
Right.
Do you still see that misconception with your female clients?
Oh yeah, no, totally. I actually have visuals that I've created to just kind of show them like body composition, right? Like this is what a woman looks like when she doesn't have much muscle, and she has like a moderate amount of fat. This is what a
Mm,
woman looks like when she has a lot of muscle and a low body fat, which is basically what women want to look like. That's that physique.
right,
When they see
right,
that, they're like, that's my goal. And it's like, well, you can't get there unless you build some lean muscle tissue. And building lean muscle tissue doesn't mean you're going to look like a man. It means that you're going to look more feminine and more shapely. So it's definitely something, yeah, I do see with women clients, female clients that I work with. So I have to kind of show them visually that, hey, it's okay to build muscle. And it's actually very attractive.
yeah. I used to joke with my female clients. They'd say, "Well, I don't want to get big." I'd say, "Well, that's great because I don't want to be a hippopotamus."
Right.
And neither one of those things is going to happen. I mean,
Right.
it's genetically impossible. I've met maybe one or two women in my entire career that got fairly decent size,
Hmm.
and even with that, they still looked very feminine.
Yes.
Um, Unless you're doing anabolic steroids, you're not
Right.
going to be able to build the muscle that makes you look masculine. It
Oh
just
yeah.
it's genetically impossible.
Yep. It's so true. And it takes so long to build muscle too, especially for a woman. And it's
Yeah,
so hard. I mean, I've
yeah.
been tracking my own like muscle gain over time. I've been doing this consistently for 10 years. And I've honestly only put on like 10 pounds of muscle over like 10 years. Like that's like stayed, you know?
Which for some of our listeners, they may think that's a lot because they may say, well, I've got 10 pounds to lose. But the
Mm-hmm.
difference is so 10 pounds is 10 pounds, right? The weight
Mm-hmm.
that is on the scale is 10 pounds, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
fat or muscle. The difference is the volume.
Right.
Muscle is much more dense. And so when you
Yep.
got 10 pounds of muscle on, you've got this density that
Mm-hmm.
is totally different than the volume of fat. And so if you
Yep.
lose 10 pounds of fat, 10 pounds of muscle, you're going to look totally different, but you may still weigh exactly the same. Right.
Yeah. Like I like the comparison of like a pound of gold versus like a pound of feathers. Like a pound of
Yeah.
feathers that take up a ton of space.
Great
A
example.
pound of gold is, it's very, very dense. It takes up a less amount of space.
Yeah, that's a great example. I love that. Michelle, you mentioned as you were going through your own personal growth and progression that as you started to work out, you found some friends in the gym.
Mm-hmm.
Talk a little bit about that because I know that going into the gym setting for both
Mm-hmm.
men and women, that's a very intimidating thing. When
Oh
people are
yeah.
starting out, they think that everybody is looking at them. They think that everybody's
Mm-hmm.
judging them, but that's not really the case. Everybody there is probably thinking the same thing that you are, that they're
Mm-hmm.
afraid of everybody else looking. So how did you find these friends? What did that look like for you?
So I found them because I was just working out, and I guess they saw me at the gym pretty consistently, and I think they started going. I was like 3 months in. I think they started going about a month in. They just saw me and they were like, "Hey, we just wanted to tell you that you look great, and we see you working out here. Do you mind if we work out with you? Like we're following this." I think it was oh, who was the trainer? They were following a plan. The girl that's on what's that the celebrity trainer that's on TV. What's her name? I can't remember her name. I know, like my
Oh, I
mind's.
don't watch a lot of TV. I'm not sure.
But she was
I probably
following, they
should
were
know.
following her plan, and they were like, yeah, like
Okay.
it's just too much. And so can we work out with you? And I was like, sure. And
That's awesome.
yeah, so then we just started a relationship. But I mean, I'm a firm believer in like you become who you surround yourself with, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I think that you shouldn't feel scared to go to the gym or feel like you're being judged if that's something that you're trying to make, into your life. There's so many people at the gym that are just super cool and super nice. I mean, there's obviously the boneheads there, but most people are pretty
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
and they're looking for the same things as you are. And it's just cool to bond with people that have the same interests, and you can work out with each other. Like that's a good way to stay motivated, is to have an accountability partner, to go to the gym with. So
So
I'm all
some of
for
my
it.
favorite friends are the ones that I sweat with. I
Yep,
mean, whether it's going
exactly.
on a hike or working out in the gym, I mean,
Yep,
you just develop these bonds because you're pushing each other.
yep.
You're sweating together. You're vulnerable in some of those situations, and you just
Hmm.
develop a better bond. One of my best friends, we were talking about it the other day, and I'm a significantly smaller guy than he is. He probably at his heaviest weighs about double what I do. He
Hmm.
was a linebacker in college, lifts a lot heavier than me. But even with that, we would go toe to toe. And I couldn't squat or deadlift the same amount of weights that he would do, but we would go pound for pound. And I'd say, okay, fatty, we're going pound for pound on this one. And we just, I mean, we've got this great relationship that now, even what, 25 plus years later, we're still really good friends, partially
Hmm.
because we worked out together so much back in the day. I want to ask you, Michelle, how does the outdoor fitness piece play into your life? I know it's a big thing for me, and that was actually something that it caught my eye when you were out hiking with
Hmm.
Michelle and Lindsay, or excuse me, with Lindsay and Melissa. Talk about how the outdoor aspect plays into your overall fitness.
So we moved to Utah about 2 years ago, and I mean, I grew up here, so I kind of moved around, like
Mm.
in my early 20s, and then finally moved back. And I think COVID just kind of changed my mindset in a lot of things. And like one of the things is the outdoors and like being with nature, um, and just hiking and being active outside. Like I feel like being active is so great emotionally, but doing it outside is an even bigger bonus. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
enjoying the fresh air. And you can do it anywhere. Like you can work out outside anywhere. Like you can go for a nice walk. I mean, honestly, like when you're feeling stressed, like just going outside and just going on a walk, like a short walk, will make you feel instantly better.
So
So
powerful, especially when you're
yeah,
outside. You got nature around you. I mean,
yeah.
walking is one of the most underrated exercises, in my
Oh,
opinion.
I totally agree. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, you think about walking, and so many people don't do it, but it truly is one of the most powerful exercises. Not only because you're staying active, but
Uh-huh.
walking. You've got your fight or your flight,
Yep.
and walking taps in to the flight,
Yep.
but it does it at such a low level that once you start walking, it actually activates your parasympathetic or your recovery part of your nervous system. And so
Mm-hmm.
if you're stressed, you go for a walk, which tells your body, okay, I'm flighting, I'm running away, but you're doing it in this super positive way. And then you get all
Yep.
these amazing benefits. Then you go for a hike, you're in nature,
Mm-hmm.
and everything is even, above and beyond that.
Oh, totally. Yeah, it's honestly it's addicting. Like hiking and just being in nature and being active in nature, it's definitely does something with your mindset, like just being connected. I don't know what it is, but just emotionally you just feel, I don't know, just so much happier, so much better. So,
There was some research that came out. I'm probably going to butcher it. Maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, out of China, and I believe it was China, where they had done research on the benefits of people just doing what they called nature bathing, and it was
mhm,
basically people going into nature and sitting there amongst the trees or being in nature, and that they were finding significant improvements in overall sense of well-being, overall mental health. People were just feeling, a ton better by getting out in
mhm,
nature. So there's a lot to it. And Michelle, I know you work with a lot of clients, ranging from professional athletes to women who just want to get into better shape. What do
mhm.
you think what's the biggest challenge that people have when it comes to making a physical transformation?
I mean, I think it varies with each client. And everybody has different goals that they're looking for. But like the woman that's looking to get into better shape, that's just had a baby, I think the biggest barrier is finding the time to do it. That's always been like a big barrier, or meal prepping is a barrier. Honestly, like the main thing is you have to figure out ways to make it easy for yourself. So like with the meal prepping aspect, I feel like a lot of people burn themselves out with that because it's not easy. Like they make it difficult for themselves. And then when it's difficult, you burn yourself out. Trying to find ways to make it easy for you. Like one thing that I do for my clients is I provide like a little like grocery sheet of like ready-made, basically ready-made foods, like at Trader Joe's. Like they can go to Trader Joe's and get some like pre-made grilled chicken, or they can get like different like stir fries in the frozen section, pre-boiled, the hard-boiled eggs, like just little things that they can like incorporate in their day, that make it so easy for them, especially like clients that are traveling or that are busy all the time. Like I've worked with a lot of super busy, like C-level executives, and I've worked with just very entrepreneurs and just very busy people. And that was something that we've had to try to overcome. But just trying to find ways, it's called self-efficacy, like just being able to know that you can do it and it's easy. Does that make sense? Like with the working out and the time, maybe even just breaking it up into chunks, like maybe like instead of going to the gym for like an hour, breaking it up like 15 minutes here, like a 15-minute there, like, with throughout your day, might be easier, to get
So
that.
why do you think people feel like that there has to be this all or nothing mentality?
I think that deep down, like a lot of people are perfectionists, and I mean, in some ways it's good to be a perfectionist, but I feel like with like your fitness journey or your health journey, it's good to you're just because you're doing it day after day after day, it's a lifestyle, right? Like you want to stick with it for life. When you have that all or nothing mentality, like we're all human, right? We're not perfect and we mess up, and I'm sure sometimes we mess up a lot. I think having that self-compassion, and just saying, hey, like I messed up today, but I can clean the slate. Tomorrow's a new day, just get back on track. Remembering that consistency over a long period of time over perfection is what's going to get results. So I think just reminding, like with my clients, like I tell them to remind themselves that like it's consistency over a long period of time versus perfection day after day after day after day, which is impossible. So
yeah, because I think most people or misconstrue what they can do in a short period of time, and they really truly don't understand what can happen in a period of like 12 months of just being consistent.
Exactly.
I really like how you talk about keeping it simple, right? Simple tips on breaking it down. You mentioned that instead of, if you can't make an hour in the gym, cut it down to 20, whatever it is. What are some other simple tips that you think that are working for your clients?
So like, breaking the workouts down, like, and when I mean like that hour, like you can do like 15 minutes in the morning, you can do 15 minutes, you can go on a 15-minute walk, or, that's like a simple tip. Like the meal prep tip that I gave you. What else is a good one?
So let's talk about the meal prep thing for just a second, because I get people joking with me when I go into the office, that with the food that I have. And I had a guy giving me a hard time the other day when I was eating my breakfast. My breakfast typically consists of some sort of meat and eggs and maybe some nuts, right? I want to start my day the right way, get my neurotransmitters primed up for the day. And this guy's like, when did you make that? Did you make that on Sunday? Did you meal prep that? Did you meal prep that yesterday? I said, no, I made it this morning. He goes, what do you mean? I said, it takes me like 10 minutes to make this in the morning while I'm getting ready, while I'm packing up for the day. I do this. It's not that difficult. We make the meal prep, this idea out to be bigger than what it really is.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love what you're talking about with whether it's going to Whole Foods or Trader Joe's or really anywhere, and finding these simple solutions. See, fast food doesn't need to be horrible food. You don't need to go to McDonald's to get fast food. An apple is fast food.
Yeah.
Almonds are fast food. You can cook up steak in less than 10 minutes. That's
Yep.
fast food.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. No,
nutrient
it's so
dense.
true. Yeah, and you can make it delicious. I mean, it's fast and it's simple and it's healthy. You know what I mean? And it fits in your goal plan, you know?
Yeah. I would, anybody that tells me, oh, you can't make it good in that amount of time, I'll invite them over for dinner. I'll
Right.
cook it. They can sit there and watch me cook it. I will
Hmm.
make you food, and I will guarantee you, you will never want to go eat that garbage cheeseburger from that place or that
Yep.
whatever it is again.
Hmm.
Um, breaking the workouts up. So it's a great tip. When you're working with a very busy client, I know you mentioned time before is one of the main things that
Hmm.
that people struggle with. What are some other tips relative to people getting their workouts in or finding the time to do what it takes to get the results they're looking for?
So something that I have clients do, that when they say time is an excuse, and obviously they're busy, I'll have them do like a time journal. So basically
Mhm.
they'll start at like 7 a.m. 7 a.m. What are you doing? And then how long? And then they go to, like, let's say they're cooking breakfast, they're getting ready, showering, whatever. That took an hour. So at 8 a.m., like, what are you doing? I'm driving to work. Like, how long is the drive to work? And then like maybe they say 8:30. And so like every
Yep.
slot they start, recording their what they're doing for that time. And a lot of these my clients, they find that a lot of time is wasted on like social media or,
Yeah.
watching TV, or there's like a lot of chunks of time where instead of, looking at Instagram, for 2 hours, they could have gone to the gym, for an
Yep.
hour. So that's something
It's
that's been
amazing.
helpful. Yeah.
What a great tool. When you think about if you go talk to somebody who's a multimillionaire, they know everything
Hmm.
there is to know about their money, right? If they own their business, they know everything there is to know about their business. That guy or that girl with abs, they know everything there is to know about their body.
Yeah.
You don't just fall into it. And time is the one resource that we all have control over. We
Yep.
don't want to believe that far too often, but we
Hmm.
do have control over it. When we do these time journals, all of a sudden we start to realize, oh my gosh, I'm wasting so much
Oh
time.
yeah, no, totally.
Shocking.
Yes, it's very shocking. It's kind of like a big self-awareness thing. Just to see what you're doing with your time. And you're like, wow, there's like chunks of time like I could be doing something meaningful, like spending time with my family or going to the gym or whatever, doing something I enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a friend of mine that reminds me years ago. So he and his wife had gotten divorced, and he has a son who's quite a bit older now and out of the house. But he said to me, I, I know that the times where I have my son, I'm more intentional as a father than 99% of my friends are. They go
Mm-hmm.
home and they're with their kids more
Mm-hmm.
in the same house, but they're not intentional. They don't
Mm-hmm.
spend time. They're not focused on their kids. And he says,
Mm-hmm.
with my son, I'm intentional. I have him, a couple nights a week, and I have him on the weekend. And I know exactly what we're going to do. And whether it's sitting and doing homework together, making food together, that just totally shifted my personal perspective. Because when he told me that, I thought, yeah, time is essentially a function of energy and focus,
Oh
right?
yeah, totally.
And
And
if we
then,
put our focus into something and we have the energy for it, that's
yep,
what time is.
totally, totally. And then opportunity cost, you're doing one thing, then you can't do something else. So
Big time.
yeah.
Yeah. How do you get some of your busy executives that you're working with that are traveling, that have a lot of demands? How do you get them to stay consistent while they travel?
So just having like structure, I think that's one thing that helps is like having like a structured program. So, um, and having like a fallback. So like if I know that they're traveling, they'll say, "Hey, Michelle, I'm going to be traveling from X to, here to here this amount of days." So I'll ask them, I'll say, "Okay, well, can you send me the hotel gym?" And then they'll send me, like a link to like pictures of the hotel gym so I can write a program for them, like like a workout program for that hotel gym. And then I'll ask them, I'll say, okay, now you need to figure out where the grocery stores are around your
Mm-hmm.
hotel.
Yeah.
And And so we kind of game plan that. And if, they have to have a dinner, like out with the client or whatever, we'll game plan that. Like, okay, what restaurant are you eating at? Okay, let's look at the menu. Okay, what do you think are good options? Why do you think those are good options? I ask them first, and then they ask me, like, what do you think? So then we'll kind of talk about it. But a lot of it is a learning process too. So when they're on the road, they kind of just like utilize me to help them, overcome those obstacles when they're on the road.
I love that plan and that process. I mean, when you think about it, if you're booking a trip, you're going to book your hotel, you're going to book your flight, you're going to book your rental car, or your Uber, or your transportation. But what you're talking about, I actually did for several years. I used to travel at least 2 or 3 times a month. And every time I knew where I was going, I would look up what the closest grocery stores, whether it was a Whole Foods or Trader Joe's. I knew what gyms I was going to, and it was planned out. But I want to talk a little bit about something you mentioned earlier, where you said that you want to have a structure, but then you want to have some other things to fall back on. I can't tell you how much I love that comment. Like, have a structure, but have something to fall back on. You mentioned earlier that a lifestyle is really your lifestyle, something you want to do over a period of time.
Yep.
If people miss a workout, most of the time they don't have a plan to fall back on, and they beat themselves up.
Yep.
I know that self-compassion is a big part of what you teach. Talk about the power of that.
Oh, it's very powerful. And also it teaches you to hold yourself accountable too, like not blame situations. Like I think showing yourself compassion, it's like, hey, like, okay, I messed up, it was on me. Like I wasn't able to do this, but hey, it's okay. Now I can have a game plan, like if it happens again. So it kind of teaches you to kind of like work through obstacles and problems as well, like when you have that self-compassion, but it also kind of just holds you to your program, where like you kind of like let go of that all or nothing mentality. Cause like I feel like that all or nothing mentality can be very destructive, and set you back. So having that self-compassion, saying, hey, it's okay, like Michelle, like you had you kind of binged on Thanksgiving and you had like, 5 slices of pie. Okay, well, it's okay. Let's just get back on track. Let's go to the gym, let's eat healthy and clean the rest of the week. And then, and usually whatever, you messed up on that day, like is gone by the week's end. So, and people kind of see that like, oh, it really wasn't that big of a deal. And I enjoyed myself and I enjoyed my family and I got to bond and enjoy my life. You know what I mean? Because that's another thing with this, like making it a lifestyle, it has to be enjoyable. Like you have to be able to enjoy your life. And sometimes, have treats and, enjoy family time and going out to dinners at restaurants. I think it's important too for sanity.
Yeah, because when you think about all or nothing, so you're all in on this diet or it's nothing. And I think about that. What other area of life do we think all or nothing? Right? I just, it's weird. But yet somehow with our food and our exercise, we tend to think like that. Oh, I got to be all in. I got to be all perfect. Well, that's not life, right? And so if you have a plan, that's great. But then what's your plan when you go off plan? You talk about 5 pieces of pie for Thanksgiving. I like 6 or 7 pieces of pie for Thanksgiving, but that's part of my plan, is that going up to Thanksgiving, I know that I'm most likely going to eat more stuff because I enjoy it. I don't enjoy the time. I don't want to be worrying about it. I want to have fun with my family. Now, I probably won't, nowadays go that much as what I used to do, because I know how it affects my body.
Right. Yeah.
But I also don't feel bad about it later if I do. That's just part of life. And so I think having that plan for when you go off your plan is really a critical step.
Oh, yeah.
What about the self-talk aspect? And you referenced this a little bit earlier when you were talking about yourself in the third person, but it's really important that we have positive mental talk.
Oh yeah.
Because when people go off plan, we know that the mental talk is not good. The self-talk is not good.
Mm-hmm.
What's your advice to people when they start to go down that negative route after maybe going off plan with their workout or off plan with their nutrition?
I mean, I guess just reminding themselves like, hey, it's okay. And then falling back on that, it's consistency over perfection. So consistency over a long period of time. So, I mean, even if you do 85%, well, good, and you mess up 15% of the time, you're still going to see results over a long period of time. And you've built those habits as well. And then you see like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. And it also helps your relationship with food, with your body, that, it's okay. You can forgive yourself. And just because you messed up one day, or even you went on vacation for a week and you had the whole week, like where, you ate whatever you wanted, you drank whatever you wanted, that when you got back, hey, well, I'm just back on plan. And then it just, all of that week just goes away. And if you just stay consistent, you know what I mean? Like you might gain some weight when you come back, but it'll go away. Like if you just stay consistent from there, just clean the slate and just move forward.
Yeah, and you think about what most Americans do, and they're not exercising on a regular basis. They're not eating consistently healthy foods on a regular basis. So let's say that in 2022, we're coming up on 2023 here pretty soon. Let's say that on average, you're doing well 20% of the time. And you say, okay, I'm going to listen to Michelle and I'm going to be consistent over perfect. And so I'm just going to be 4 days a week, I'm going to do it. 5 days a week, I'm going to do it, whatever it is. But you pick a point of consistency. And then throughout the year, you're consistent, maybe with taking a few pieces off, and you go from 20% up to 50% or 20 up to 60. That's great improvement.
Oh yeah.
People that do that get great results in the long run.
Oh yeah, no, totally. And they build habits over the long run too. Incorporating good things into their day. Like it pushes out the bad stuff. So like going from 20% to 50%, adding that good stuff in. And then they see it's easy and it's enjoyable. They feel good, and then they want to push more. They want to do more and they see results, and it motivates them to want to do more.
Talk a little bit about doing things people want to do. You hike because you enjoy it. You get out in nature because you enjoy it. You lift weights because you enjoy it. What about that person that's out there that says, yeah, this is great, but I don't like to sweat, or I don't like to do this, or but I heard that I should do that. What's your advice to them?
I mean, I think finding, everybody enjoys something, active, even if it's just walking outside, like just going on like a nature stroll and just like, or playing with the kids, or like throwing the baseball around with your son or your daughter, playing soccer. There's definitely something, and sometimes you have to kind of explore those options. Like I found snowboarding, like I love snowboarding now. So like I'm obsessed, but you kind of have to dabble in different things and see what you enjoy, especially when it comes to activity. Like it might not be weight training, maybe it's dance. Like if you enjoy dance, then take some dance classes, just getting that activity in is gonna, jumpstart those results. Whatever it is, doesn't have to be a specific thing. It could be anything. Just get out and get moving.
And put yourself out there, try new things, because you really never know what you're going to enjoy. I mean, I enjoyed skiing. I started to ski when I was maybe 8 or 9 years old.
Oh, wow.
Maybe even earlier than that. And so up until my 30s, I didn't snowboard. And I had a friend of mine that was an instructor up at Snowbird. And he said, hey, just whenever you're up here, text me and I'll come over and I'll ride with you and I'll teach you some stuff. And I got 50 days in that first year. And I got to the point where by mid-season, I was going pretty well. And by the end of the year, I was addicted, and I will never give it up until the day I die. And that might even be how I die. I don't know. But there are so many things out there that I think if there's a listener listening to this episode and they say, I've been doing this and I hate it. Well, great. Go try something else, because there's really no wrong way to move your body if you can do it on a consistent basis. I used to be shocked when clients would come to me and they'd say, well, I heard that that it's better to do this machine, like elliptical or treadmill or whatever it was,
Mhm.
because I heard that burdens more calories. I said, do you like that machine? No, I hate it. Well, then don't do it.
Right. Yeah,
Like
because then you won't do it. It doesn't
yeah,
matter if it's good or not. Like, if you don't like it, you're not gonna do it.
you're not going to be motivated to continue to go
Mhm.
forward. Michelle, talk a little bit about your lifestyle right now. What does that look like? What is your overall health and fitness throughout the week or throughout the month look like for you?
So I try to practice what I preach. I also believe in balance, like, and I'm not like rigid, like in my programming, like with my nutrition. I try to eat clean most of the time, but I'm not gonna beat myself up if I have a cookie or if I go to In-N-Out. Sometimes I'll go to In-N-Out Burger,
Nice.
and
Yep.
enjoy some French fries and a burger with my kids. But I don't beat myself up because I know that, I'm active. Like I most of the time I have good habits, like, where I'm eating clean foods at home. I'm going to the gym consistently. I'm lifting weights, I'm hiking, I'm doing other activities. So, I mean, for me, it's just like an all around, like everything. Like it's not just fitness and nutrition, but it's like mindset, like having low stress, making sure I'm getting enough sleep, you know, working on my mental, like, mental stuff, like emotional state, like that's also really
Mm-hmm.
important to me. Making sure that I feel balanced, like emotionally. Because I mean, there's been times in my life like where my work-life balance was completely off and I was always stressed and miserable. So I always have to check in with myself, like, how am I feeling? How's my mental state? How's my emotional state? So that's also important to me too.
Yeah, that I think that's such an important part of your overall health and fitness. What do you specifically do to maintain that good mental and emotional health?
Um, I mean, definitely the exercise helps. Definitely. I suffer from general anxiety disorder.
Okay.
So it's very important for me. And that's one of my motivations for working out is to help me with with that, like to help me with my anxiety. And being outside hiking. I'm also very spiritual. Church helps me. Um, my faith helps me, with my emotional state. Friends, like making sure that I'm keeping up with my friendships, making sure that, gratefulness, like gratitude, thankfulness, like um, looking at, like, I guess my blessings, whatever they are, like my children or like my husband or whatever. Like those are things that
Yeah.
kind of give me an instant boost of happiness.
That's
So,
great. You really can't overestimate the power of gratitude and the power of a spiritual connection. I mean,
mhm,
at the end of the day, if we don't have some sort of spiritual connection, it is extremely difficult to get through life.
oh
And
yeah.
I don't mean that it has to be any type of religious practice.
Hmm.
I've seen people that are extremely happy across the board, but they've got a very deep spiritual understanding
Hmm.
of who they are, the direction that they want to go in, and what or who God is to them.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
yeah, that especially considering or taking into account the mental and emotional health, such an important aspect of it. So I love that you brought that up. Michelle, what's something that you've learned in the last 3 years that excites you the most?
Last 3 years that excites me the most, I guess, like going back to time, like having balance, like in time, like I've had, uh, I want to say it was 6 years ago, I had a crazy business. This is kind of like when, so this was in Virginia, and this is kind of when meal prep started getting kind of popular. So I had a business that it was like kind of like kind of like the meal prep companies that are out now, but it wasn't even like in Northern Virginia, DC area. So I started that, um, and it just took off, and I just got so busy, and I felt like, I mean, I was working 80-hour weeks. It was
Mm,
insane. I had two young kids at the time. I think my youngest was 2 or 3. And my oldest daughter would always be like, "Mommy, like, can't you just like give your business to your employees? Like, can you just stay home with me?" Because I was
that's
just
cute.
working all the time. I felt like I built a prison that I couldn't get out of. You know what I mean? Like it was just,
Mm.
like all I thought about was this business and I couldn't get away from it. So like I felt like I was in this like prison, but my work-life balance was horrible. My mental state was horrible. My stress was horrible. I was getting sick. Um, so I had to cut that off. So I mean, even though that was 6 years ago, I think I'm always learning that balance and having that correct balance in your life is so important, especially for your
Yeah.
mental and emotional state. So I that's always like something I'm learning, you know, to just
Yeah, I
to
think
make
that's
sure
really
that I
important.
have that. Yeah.
It's tweaking along the way, right? We're there's no such thing as being able to balance one time. I mean, you're
Hmm.
always looking at the scale and trying to create that harmony within your life. Um, what do you feel like, Michelle, is something that you know as a fitness professional that you wish other people knew?
I mean, I think women, so definitely the weight training thing with women, not to fear it, not to think that, um, to embrace it, like not to think that you're going to look like a man if you lift weights. And there's so many other benefits to strength training, not just aesthetics, but I mean, building bone health. Like I think for women, it's
Yeah,
really important, because women after the age of 50 or after menopause, we're at a high risk of osteoporosis. So making sure that, you're building that bone strength through weight training, I think is so important. And you don't get that really from cardio. You get that from strength training.
yeah, it's that
So you,
mechanical stress, and you can't get it by supplementation. I mean, you can
yeah,
put calcium in your body, but your body's not going to uptake it unless you're doing strength training.
yeah, and then even like your muscles atrophying, like after a certain age. I think they say after 30, your
Yep.
muscles start to atrophy. So like going into old age, like that's like one thing for me personally that's been like a motivation. Um, I want to have good quality of life like when I'm 80 or whatever,
Yeah.
70, 80 years old. Like I don't want to be in a wheelchair. Like I want to be that like that grandma that's like, lifting like, you
The
know,
buff grandma.
that's deadlifting like 200 pounds or squatting,
Yeah.
I want to be
Yeah.
that. But yeah, that's important. But yeah, definitely the weight training for women, not to fear it. I think you should embrace it. I mean, there's so many, and it makes you look younger too. Like it releases growth hormone, like when you do
hmm
squats, and growth hormone keeps you looking young. So I think that's another benefit from weight training.
Yeah. Squatting and deadlifting are the fountain of youth.
Yeah.
Um, what was the darkest day of your life, and what was the best day?
The darkest day, I mean, definitely that period, when I was suffering from the postpartum depression and the postpartum OCD. That was definitely a dark time for me. The best day of my life, definitely when both of my kids were born. I mean, nothing can replace that.
Yeah. Great experience. I'm sure as a father, I can certainly resonate with that. What are you most proud of right now?
My family. I'm very thankful for my children and my husband, he's very supportive. That's probably the one thing that I'm very thankful for,
Awesome.
you know.
Who
Yeah.
who's inspiring you right now?
Um, Man, I have a lot of inspiration. I mean, lots of my friends inspire me. I like to pick friends that I want to try to be like, because I feel like like you become who you surround yourself with. So
Right.
I'm very picky with like who I choose to be in my friend circle. I mean, I'm picky but not picky, if that makes any sense. But I try to find, women that like if they're good moms, like, oh wow, I want to be like her. She's a good mom, or I want to be like her. She's really good at like, designing her house or whatever, like just whatever talent. But I just like to, friends inspire me. I like to find people, that inspire me. In terms of public figures, I don't know. Um, like I don't know, like Nelson Mandela. I don't know.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. He was certainly inspiring. I'm the same way. It's the people that I'm closest to in my life are the ones that typically inspire me. Well, Michelle, we're coming close to our time, and we like to, with some of our guests, do a rapid fire question.
Mhm.
So as we go through the rapid fire section, I'm gonna ask a question, and you've got either one word or one sentence that you can use to answer the rapid fire questions. Are you ready to go?
Okay. Yep,
All
let's
right.
go.
So let's talk disruption. How have you disrupted your life in order to spark new growth?
Um, Knowledge.
Awesome. If you could go back 10 years and give your former self advice that would push your evolution forward, what would it be?
Um, Really take, well, 10 years. Okay, maybe. If it was high school, I would say take your education very seriously.
Okay, that's
10
great.
years, 10 years ago, um, balance, the work-life balance aspect.
Okay, great. So we never really stop evolving. What do you do to show yourself compassion along the way?
Um, just reminding myself that things are okay, that I'm in control. I'm in control of my life. I can set goals. I can, um, learn new things. Um, I can accomplish things. I just need to have a plan of action.
Beautiful. So the last question is not part of the rapid fire, so take your time on this one. At Evolve, we believe that people evolve by stacking one simple habit on top of another. It doesn't have to be difficult. It just has to be something that they can repeat. If you were to give our listeners one habit that you would like them to repeat over and over and over again, what would it be?
I think looking in the mirror and just telling yourself that I love myself. I have one life. I have one body, and I love my body. I love my life, because that kind of will help jumpstart whatever it is, fitness journey, health journey. When you love yourself and you realize like you have this one body and this one life.
I love that. Learning to love yourself is a superpower that I don't think a lot of people do,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately. They don't develop that superpower. When you learn to love yourself, and it takes time because you
Mm-hmm.
have to uncover the deep, dark areas and you have to say, oh, I love that too. But when you learn to love yourself, it truly becomes a superpower that, I mean, you become Superman, Superwoman, Wonder Woman, whatever you want to call it, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
you can fly, you can get hit with a speeding bullet. It's not going to penetrate you. Like it is true superpower. So I'm with you on that. The self love, that self compassion. And on that note, folks, it is time for us to wrap up another episode of the Evolve podcast. I want to thank you, Michelle, for coming on.
Thank you so much, Steve.
Great to have you. What is the best way for people to get in touch with you, follow what you're doing, and if they're interested in hiring you, how do they do that?
You can go to my website, www.mb-elite.com. My contact information's on there, or you can follow me at mb_elite_fitness on Instagram. Or if you want to follow
Awesome.
my adventure page that I created for hiking and all of that stuff, you can follow me at fit.and.adventurous.
And that's the one I think I originally started following because you got beautiful pictures of these hikes, like some of my favorite
Thank
hikes, and
you.
then some that I haven't even been on, but they're gorgeous pictures. So even if people are not in a space where they can go hiking, we got a little FOMO going on when you look at those pictures because like people will want to be on top of the mountain.
Well, I kind of want to give a shout out to Lindsay and Melissa for that, because they totally inspire me, and they always have gorgeous photos. So I kind of following in
they
their
do a great
footsteps.
job. That's awesome. Well, we will link all of those links in the show notes, folks. So, you can check in the show notes and you'll be able to get a hold of Michelle that way as well. Remember that it does take time and consistency to evolve, but first you have to disrupt. And now it's time for you to get out there and evolve.
Thank you for listening to the Evolve Podcast. If you like this episode, share it with your friends. Follow us on Instagram at Evolve_cast and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcasting app. And now it's time for you to get out there and evolve.